she's going to go into a deep dive for one of her chapters. But I want to introduce her right now, the lady of the hour, Cadori, Kathy Cadori Marshall. All right, so tell us a little bit about who Cadori is for the people who don't know.
So I know there's a few people in here today that I have never met before, so I'll just give a little, tell a little bit about myself. So I'm Kathy Cadori Marshall. The name Cadori is a name that I branded in 2017. I lost my oldest son to a motorcycle accident in 2010. So when I was thinking about ways of letting his name live on in a legacy, I made it part of my name. So my name is Kathy, his name is JWE, and my mom's name is Doris. So I wanted to include my mom, and so I was Googling stuff, and then I didn't see that name taken, so I took that name. So Cadori is my brand, so that's the deep meaning of that name behind that. Outside of that, I'm a serial entrepreneur. I own several businesses. I'm a registered nurse. I've been a registered nurse for almost 30 years. I also, for the great state of Houston, Texas, I am a philanthropist, and I was given a day in the city by the former mayor, Sylvester Turner, for all of my philanthropy work. So I do a lot of giving, mainly to women and children and homeless people. So on January 27th, every year since January 27th, 2021, I've had Kathy Marshall Day in the day of the city of Houston.
Yes.
So that's coming up in 2 days. Yeah. So I just do a lot. So right now I'm on a national book tour promoting this book. I wrote this book in 2020 during the pandemic, and I never got a chance to do a book tour. And I was thinking, when you talk to publishers, there's always like, what do you have out new? What do you have out new? And I'm like, I don't want to write anything new right now because everyone hasn't heard of this.
Right.
So I'm going to do it my way, and I'm going to do this and let this be known, because I believe in empowering women. Because I feel like if you change the woman, the mindset, you change generations. Because most women are the natural nurturers and the rearers of children anyway. And through that empowerment, you get the men anyway, right? Because we're the ones that's usually nurturing and teaching. So that's who I am as Kathy Cadori Marshall.
I love that so much. Okay, so and why is it important for you to put on intimate events like this?
So I love the intimate events, and you all would probably agree because there's not a lot of people. You can actually relax a little bit more. You don't have to worry about a big crowd. We can actually ask questions at the end. We can network, we can know each other. So I like the intimate setting, and I like the restaurant setting because you get to place your order and you get to pick what you want off the menu and eat. Most people just love that. Everywhere I go, they love that.
Yeah, I love the like intimate.
Yeah.
It just gets a vibe.
Yeah.
Okay, in your book, chapter 10 talks about manifesting. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, so manifesting, I wanted to go into that today because I thought that was very important at the beginning of this year, because a lot of times when the new year starts, people want to look at change. I think that in the beginning of the year is the biggest time that people will actually look at possibly changing themselves or open to something new. So I wanted to talk about manifesting today because it's the beginning of a new year and people are open to that. I think manifesting is very important because just like Joe was talking about a little bit, even if you're going through things of grief, you still have to have the presence of mindset to know, I don't want to stay here, I don't want to stay stuck. So how that ties into manifesting is that when you think something, that thought can turn to actions.
Yes.
So you have to be intentional about anything if you want to manifest. And there's a few steps to this. It's also in my book and it's in my workbook journal. But the first thing is the thought and the idea, right?
Right.
When you think this thing, I don't think God gives us a thought if he won't make provision. Now, it may not come right away because things don't happen overnight, but I think if you think it and it's something that you really desire, that can become a reality. So when you think it, you need to speak it. Because you know the power of the tongue is very powerful, right? So when you're manifesting, after you think that thing and you speak that thing, you're speaking it into reality. When you speak it, then you need to write it down. Because when you write that down, you writing these words, you're giving it life. Okay? So I talk about that a little bit in the book, and I also do a lot of coaching where I help people with that, because people do get stuck between thinking, saying, and writing because they only do it a couple times and then say, oh, nothing happens. I'm going to give up. You know, so most people don't realize when they stop doing something, they were so close to it actually happening. Yeah, so with manifesting, I just think that that's very important to know the steps in that and to stick by those steps until it becomes a reality, because it will if you stick with it.
Oh yeah, you have what you say.
Yeah.
Good, better, and different. So it's important to be mindful of that.
Yeah,
so you're right.
Yeah.
You have to be intentional. You're right. I love that. What's next for Cadori, and how can we follow you?
So I'm on this book tour right now.
It's going international.
And yes, going international.
Biscuit.
It's a nationwide book tour. It's actually a worldwide book tour.
Period.
Worldwide. And let me just shift 1 minute. I'm gonna call right back. Rod D. This is my first time meeting him. He's awesome. My son was here earlier, and he had to go for a meeting, but he just came over and told me. As soon as he came in here the first time, he started. He said, "Mom, you need to be having him at every event." And a few people in here have been at some of my other events, and they've already said today that this is different than the other events because of you. So I want to thank you for being available to come. He has great reviews, and of course I'm going to put a great review on him today because I never met him till today in person, but I just simply looked up. I knew I wanted a saxophonist, and he had great reviews, and I booked him.
Yes.
And I had to rebook him because we were supposed to have it a month or so ago, and something happened, so he was available both days. So I'm just thankful he's here, and I'm thankful everyone enjoys that experience. So I'm gonna shift back over. So yeah, it's gonna be a worldwide event because it's actually changing lives. Every time I do these events in different cities, people come up to me, people are following me. Everything is on the Cadori brand. All of my social media, website, everything's under there that I do. And I usually put out the book tours a couple of weeks before because they're so small and intimate. I don't have to have 1,000 people. Even if I had 5 people, I'm always grateful because I tell all the ladies that are here, they know it's gonna be more than who's in the room. Yeah. Because I believe in my heart that when you touch somebody in such a way that they go back and they tell other people, and that's exactly what has happened. Every single book tour I've had, it's been bigger than who was in that room that day, and other people have followed me and actually supported me. So I believe that. So I'm a true product of the manifesting. Yes. This book came out of after a very painful divorce, and my daughter's here on the front row. She can tell you. That, we literally lost everything. When my ex-husband left and we went through the divorce, I lost everything. And I remember putting stuff in storage, and I was on a travel assignment in Arizona because that's where I went. Thank God I'm a nurse because I don't know if I would have survived it had I not been able to shift and move. But because of my profession, I was able to shift and move and get work. And so we went through a hard time. I'm a believer in mental health. I'm a believer in mental health therapy. I'm a mental health therapist advocate because I had to do it. It literally saved my life. I was in therapy for over a year. And then out of that therapy, and I started pouring into myself like never before, then came this Amazon bestselling book. After therapy, getting to know myself. And so, I lost it all. And had to work and make stuff. I remember having to ride in an Uber, having to catch a bus, having to walk sometimes. And then I went through all of that, got myself together, wrote the book, and then the pandemic came. And I was able to capitalize off the pandemic. So I literally went from 2 years before riding an Uber and riding a bus to being able to buy a Bentley.
Okay.
So I just tell people that, whatever you think you want in life, it can happen. And you just have to think it, speak it, write it down, believe it, and also don't tell everybody. I think that last step, when I talk to people and I tell them about manifesting and shifting mindsets, is that a lot of people, they tell their visions to everybody. You have to talk to God, and you have to be able to believe in God, because some people, even sometimes in your family, you tell your vision, right away the doubt comes. Oh, well, what about what all this stuff? When I was going through the valley, I wasn't really talking to people like that. I was just praying and talking to God, and my 2 kids that were with me, we would talk sometimes, but I was talking to God, and I was getting my instruction and my direction from God. I wasn't every day telling people what I was planning on doing or what I was doing, and I still don't now, because I just believe that if you have visions and things that people can put their their beliefs on you, and their beliefs sometimes are very limiting. Like, who do you think you are? Like, even this book tour, if I told certain people I'm going to book tour, what do you mean you're on a book tour? Well, where are you going to go? How are you going to do this? All that stuff. I believe in creating a table. Because all of us in here are African American, but we know that a lot of things aren't laid out for us, so we got to lay it out for ourselves. So I believe that if you have a vision, God will make provision, but you just have to first believe it.
Absolutely.
So just a book tour and great things to come. I have a few announcements that will be coming out in the next week that are huge for the Black community, and I'll just let them roll out as they roll out. So if you follow me, you'll see those.
I mean, I just love that though, because you really are doing it. I remember when you talked, once I met you, I met Cadori, we were on a show together, and that's how we met, right? We were part of a local group here in Houston.
3 years ago?
Oh, at least.
4 years ago?
It was a while ago, yes, and we connected right away. And I truly agree with manifesting what you want. You have to say what you want and believe that you'll have it, and you will. I'm a product of that. I believe that with all my heart, and I'm standing in faith on things and just trusting that it's going to happen, right? You got to do the work, but still, if you just speak it and write it, it's biblical, right? So yeah, I totally agree with you on that. All right, so now it's time for the audience to ask any questions you may have. Does anyone have any questions?
Yes. Go ahead.
Okay, so I know that you spoke about, hi Mom. I know that you spoke about manifesting, but could you go into a little bit about how to get over your limiting beliefs, like that you always think that you were capable of having a Bentley? What about the times where you didn't feel like you could make it out? How did you get through those times, and how did you overcome them to believe that you could have these things and that you were worthy of them?
Well, it wasn't any one thing, and it wasn't a magic, like a magic word or a magic thing you can do. It's just a constant everyday journey. So, I write down stuff all the time. She knows this because I'm from an era where, we wrote, like, I don't even think most kids now know how to write in cursive. I think they took it out of school. I think they did. I don't know why they did that. So it's like they're looking at a foreign language now. It's horrible.
Yeah.
But I grew up at a time when we wrote, so I still write. My daughter's always like, Mom, you got a cell phone, you got a tablet, just put it in. But I always write. She knows this. I go through notebooks like crazy.
Yeah.
So I'm always writing these things down. I think that when I wrote them, a lot of times I just wrote them into being. And I just walked it and I just did the work. Like a lot of people don't want to do the work. They want something to happen overnight. And they look at people all the time and compare. And I always say comparison is the thief of joy. And the reason why, because when you're comparing your life to somebody else, you don't know what those people went through.
That's true.
You don't even know what they're going through now. You're just looking at material things, but it's another side of material things. There's a mental component.
Yeah.
There's spiritual. There's a lot of things behind this. So I always tell people, don't compare. Just look at and talk to God about what you want. Have a personal relationship with God, and just stop telling everybody everything.
Yes.
Because a lot of times the thoughts that we think that are negative are coming from other people. They're not really coming from ourselves. So we just have to kind of be isolated in some seasons in your life in order to, get a word and get a message or what to do.
That's true.
Yeah.
I have a question.
Yes.
How long before you decided to actually write a book, and the process, and how long did it take for you to complete, and is it self-published?
Yeah, it is self-published, and I've been writing since I was in high school. It's just that when I was in a marriage with somebody that didn't want me to become all I was supposed to become, I just never put anything out there. I would always say, I want to write this, but he would do stuff to where I couldn't write it, like, not pay some bills, so I got to work extra, so I wouldn't have the time to write it. And it's amazing how when you get away from people that you weren't supposed to be around, things just come. Like they almost just come almost instantly because now your mind is free and you can focus. You can't focus when you got negative people in your corner, whether they're a spouse or family or friends or whoever. But I did self-publish, and I did it in 90 days. So I found a publisher, and I help people with that too. I'm actually helping people write books now. So it's a quick way to do it, you know, where you can, you know, record everything, record to text, and then they send it off and they edit it and come back. You know, I know photographers and different things. It's just a lot of different things going in there. I'm a slide over and come right back because I want to talk about my photographer, LaTanya, over in the corner. She's a great photographer. Anybody want a photographer, please support her. There's a lot of Black women business owners in this room today. But she knows this, and I can't tell this story too deep because then I start crying. She knows all about this book cover. This book cover was actually done in Atlanta 2 years before it came out. And we went to Atlanta. I had a photographer, and she was a friend of that photographer. She was the gaffer that day, I think. And the gaffer is the person who sets the lights, because lighting is very important with beautiful photos. And we met her and instantly started talking to her, just been talking like we were old friends. So fast forward a year later when my book came out, we had already connected, and I saw she was doing all kinds of stuff in Atlanta and everywhere, taking photos of the mayor and everybody else. So I just asked her, hey, I know you're connected. Would you like to work with me and help set up some interviews for my book and stuff like that? And so we just started kind of working together then, and we've been working together ever since. And she just had connections in Atlanta to other people to connect me. And we were working like that, but then now she's a photographer, so she's doing photography stuff for me as well. But she knows how this cover came about, but she was the one there helping to make it happen. So that's who she is. It's a deep relationship. She knows I love her. She was living in Memphis, Tennessee, but then last year she moved to Houston. So she's in Houston now.
Nice.
Yeah, that's her.
Yeah. Did you have a question?
Yeah. Yes.
What made you ability to share? Like with so many artists, like how did you find a willingness to start?
So I've probably always been sharing because I'm a registered nurse. I've been a nurse for almost 30 years. So when you take care of patients, I don't know if you know it or not, but people come in the room and they tell you about their personal life, not even about the stuff they're there for. So they open up you and talk to you, and then I end up like being a counselor to them. So I'm always talking to people on a regular basis about all sorts of life issues. So I was already doing that. So it's nothing to me to walk in a room and I don't meet strangers. So I just, you know, I naturally talk to people. Some professions you just do that. You know, like teachers or different people, you just talk to people, so it's not a hard job for you to get up in front of people and talk. But to be intimate and personal details, I just said to myself, I don't really give a damn what people think, period. You get to a point in your life where you don't care about what people think anymore, because I know there's no perfect people. There's a chapter in my book called No Perfect People too. And I just said, you know what, everybody has something. And if I'm going to do one of my purposes, which is to help people come out of whatever they're in or help them get from this point to that point, then I have to be authentic and I have to be able to share my ups and downs. And that's what I put in my book, my trials and tribulations, and people have been able to feel empowered from that. And, you know, I just don't care what people think, because I know people, everybody has stuff. You know what I'm saying? I've taken care of homeless people on drugs, on the street, all the way to millionaires, the HEBs, all of them. I've been in their home doing private union work. So I've taken care of the whole income span of people over the years. And the only difference in people is some people have money, some don't. It's the same type of issues, the same family drama, the same type of stuff. So the money does not make people. I've had millionaires tell me I would give everything back just to have my health. So when people always say money, 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 no, it's not money. It's about relationships. It's about kindness and love. It's not about money. It's not. So yeah. Yeah. Yes.
What gave you the strength to go through what you went through, raise your kids, work, all of that at the same time without losing your mind?
And also while you're at the book and going to your child health.
And how big of a motivation for your kids for
Yeah.
you?
Well, I was raised in somewhat of an abusive home. So I grew up seeing overbearing dad to my mom. My dad was 21 years older than my mom. And I didn't realize till after I went through 2 marriages that my mom was more like my dad's child than his wife. My mom never had a voice. She was always referring to my dad for everything, whether he was wrong or right. So when you grow up in, I think when you grow up in abusive situations, you have like a survivor's mentality. So I was always a survivor, but I was also a people pleaser because you miss those nurturing aspects. So I almost had to mother myself. And I met so many women and men on my journey that have had to do the same thing for whatever reason. But I guess I've always had the underlying strength to do it. And it was just a matter of me just saying, you know what, I'm gonna do it. I don't care anymore because everybody's got something. I've met so many people that have all types of issues, but I know that inside of me I have a very compassionate heart, and I know that I can help people. So getting that relationship with God after going through that divorce was really something. Because I always tell people, if people are surprised, I'm like, when I lost my son, as painful as that is, my divorce almost in some aspects was more painful. And the reason why I say that is because when somebody passes away, you can reconcile in your mind that they're no longer here physically. And if you had a good relationship with them, you're going to be okay. But with somebody that you took vows with, that you think you're going to live your whole life with, betrays you, and they turn out to be somebody totally different than you thought they were, that's a different type of pain. It's a deceitfulness, and it's just a lot of stuff. So once you work through that through therapy and God, you really come out feeling like you can do anything. You either don't come out feeling like you can't do anything or that you can do everything. And I came out feeling like I can do everything.
I have a question.
Yes.
So you spoke about being in therapy for a year?
Over you.
Over a year? Could you expand on your experience in therapy? Because our demographic specifically is like very skeptical about going to therapy and like telling their business and stuff.
Yeah.
So can you expand on how much that helped you and like the relationship you have with the therapist? How it helped you overcome and got stronger?
Yeah, I wouldn't be who I am now without the therapist. Because when I went through the divorce, I felt life was over. So I had to go there, and I always tell people, go talk to a professional. Facebook is not a therapist. 90% of people probably never been to therapy. And if you come from my generation, we were taught that if you go talk to somebody, you're crazy. But in actuality, if you don't go talk to somebody, you're crazy. Because no one person is put here with all these answers. Why would you think anybody in our logical mind, why would we think that everything that comes at us, we can deal with that by ourselves? No, we're just one person. And God put professionals here that are specialized in areas to help us. You know, if you break your leg, you're going to orthopedic surgeon. You're not sitting here trying to fix that yourself. So our mental is strong, and we need to take care of that. And if you can find a decent therapist, because I know it's a process of finding one too, that's key. But I wouldn't give up. I will keep trying till I find one, because whatever you're dealing with, trust and believe there's 1,000 more people who have dealt with that. You're not alone. And a lot of times we think when we go through stuff, we're alone, but we're not. And that in itself isolates you and makes you feel like something's wrong with you, but it's not. This is a therapy book. I'm telling you, the people in this room that have had this book, there's a couple in here, they'll tell you. This book right here is from my therapy. And I wrote it because it has pages in the back you can journal. Journaling is therapy because you're getting it out of your system onto paper. But you have stuff in here that's between you that says, tell me about the things that hurt you in your childhood. There's a childhood trauma section in here. There's a childhood chapter in my book. So all of these things, I promote this heavily because this transforms lives. And it's only $20, but at my events I always sell it for $10. And it's because I want people to get therapy, and they always say I can't afford therapy and all this stuff. Well, you can afford $10. So everybody should get this book and buy one for somebody else, in your family or friends, because this truly changes your life. There's one lady in the back, I don't know if she want to talk, but she'll tell you how this book changed her life. If she stand up and say a couple of words, introduce yourself, stand up. She done came, she gonna help me. Come on, yeah. Because she's calling her Her voice told. Please, just speak this part your heart.
Okay, so the journal. The journal is a very essential part of the book. They go hand in hand. It allows you to pour out stuff that, of course, you don't want to tell people your business because it's private.
Right.
But it allows you to journal that information and get things out that you've held in for a long time. It's very therapeutic. I'll tell anybody, to have the book without the journal is a disadvantage to you. You're wasting your time basically.
Yeah.
But to have them together is the best thing you can do. I love both of them. I've gotten several copies for my friends, and they love them as well. And I'll continue to support as much as I can because I love you.
Love you too.
All right.
Yeah, she told me, so when I was writing this book and writing this journal, the things that people have come up to me and said to me is just what I was thinking when I was writing it. But how could you think anything else? Because when you're authentic and you're telling the truth, that's exactly what happens. And it impacts people's lives in such a way that they're able to go to a different level of life that they were stuck before because they didn't know how to navigate it. You know, they didn't have a therapist, they didn't have anybody to talk to, but now you have a therapist right here in this book. So I always promote mental health therapy. I'm a mental health therapy advocate. I always promote that, especially for the Black community, especially. Yeah.
You have a question?
Yes.
I do. About your determination to go back to school with all that you were faced with, how did you manage to do studies and do the walking and the Uber and children and there's so many things you had to go through, but then you went to school and became a nurse and now you're going all over, working for all spectrums of people, you know, rich people and not so rich people. How were you able to pull that off?
So that was another part of my life, but when I went to school initially, because I've been a nurse almost 30 years, that came from another situation. So I talk about that. The first chapter talks about mistakes. Before I became a nurse, I was a smart girl. I grew up in an abusive situation. So what I was doing back then, before I became a nurse, I was writing bad checks to make it. So I got locked up for writing bad checks. And I didn't do time in jail, but because I was in a very racist county at the time, they made my bail super high. And my family was at odds with each other. Instead of them just getting the bail money up, which was like $3,000 to get me out, I actually sat in jail for 6 months. There was people that came to that jail that had been out, done other crimes, and came back, and I was still sitting there. So when I was sitting there, I just wrote out my plan while I was in there. I was like, okay, when I get out, I'm gonna get this job. I'm gonna get a nursing school. I'm not gonna give up no matter what. And that's exactly what I did. Everything I wrote down, I did it to the letter. And when I went to school, when I started school that summer, I was pregnant with her. I had her 2 weeks later. I went right on back and I never looked back. I didn't fail a single class. We had to have a 79.5 GPA all the way through. So people were dropping out, failing out, getting kicked out all the way through, but I went straight through. I didn't fail anything, and I became a nurse, and then I changed my life around. So I didn't have to struggle and worry about money anymore because I had a career where you could always find a job. So that's what I did back then. I talk about that. My first chapter is called Mistakes. That's what I talk about. That's why I said I tell my authentic story in here to help people, because when people see that you went through some stuff and you made it out, they can draw strength from that rather than just sitting up telling a bunch of lies and trying to make yourself look like a picture perfect when there's no picture perfect person. And I know this, so that's why I said I don't really give a damn what people think, because I honestly don't. Because it's nobody can stand before you and say I've had a perfect life, I've done everything right. So I don't care about that, you know. So yeah, but when we went through the divorce, it was a lot, you know, because we fell down. And you can fall down many times in life, but you don't need to stay down. You got to know that there's a God. And I just kind of looked back through my life and asked for help and got the therapy and just kept putting one foot in front of the others, and then opportunities start coming. You know, because I believe that if God knows your heart and you're praying, you're doing your best, that He's going to put people and things in your path that's going to help you. That's what I believe. Yeah.
Thank you. Love that. How many kids did you have when you were nursing?
I had 5 kids when I went to nursing school. So when I started that summer, I was pregnant with her. I had her 2 weeks later. I went back and finished that summer up, and then I went all the way through. I had 5 kids when I went to nursing school. So I inspire and motivate a lot of people that want to go to school and have this excuse and that excuse. And I said, nope, you can do it, because I had 5.
No excuse.
And I went through it, didn't miss a class, didn't fail out, just went straight through.
Were you living with your parents?
No, I was living with my ex at that time. No, I was living with my ex, yeah. Yeah, I was living with him at the time, so he helped support me while I was in school. And I got scholarships and grants and everything. 'Cause there's a lot of things out there people can get, you know, because I was over 25 when I went back, so I got grants, scholarships, everything I could sign up for, I got it. So I didn't have to really work a lot. I could focus on studying. Yeah. Yeah.
And lastly, I think you missed the part of this question where to ask how much did your kids give you strength? Things like that.
Well, when I went back to school, I wanted something different for my life and my kids, because I always tell people when you have children, it's not all about you anymore. You need to make some sacrifices for your kids. And, you know, if you can look at your kids and envision them coming up a certain way versus this lifestyle, then those things give you motivation to keep going. So I didn't want my kids to come up like me and not have a lot of the things they needed in childhood and have to struggle that way. So that pushed me to want to change my life around and do better, you know. So that gave me the strength to do that.
You said you were still with your ex while you was doing
Nursing
all
school,
of
yeah.
this, right? How, I hope I'm asking this question the right way so it'll come out right, but did you give your kids the plan, like, this is what we're doing? We're gonna hunker down, we're gonna make it through, it's gonna be tough, but we're gonna get out of this. This is my plan, and, or did you just show them?
I just showed them, I just went to school. They just knew they were little. Like my kids, when I went to nursing school, I think the oldest one was like 9 years old, all the way down. They were stair-step. So at the time, nobody was teenage years, nobody was acting out. So we just had a routine. We just, every day they got up, went to daycare, I went to school, you know, and it just, that 3 or 3.5 years went by super fast.
You kept it in your mind.
Oh yeah,
And
yeah.
that was it.
Well, once I was sitting in a cell for 6 months, I'm like, if I can sit here for 6 months and survive, these idiots coming in here, these people are doing. Nobody was in there that had did a simple thing like me. They was doing crazy stuff, you know. And then a lot of them on drugs and crack and all this stuff. And I'm like, what the heck? Like, I gotta get out of here and turn my life. This is not what I want. Like, some people are what they call career criminals. As I told you, some of them came in there 2 or 3 times the same time. Like, you're still here. So I had to think that when I was there, it was for more than just the family discord and not getting together, getting the money together, that God was trying to show me something and say, write out your vision and make it plain and go through it. And everything I wrote down, I went through it identical to what I said. Everything. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
And
everything.
lastly, I just wanted to give you some encouragement and motivation as well to just continue doing what you're doing, because even if you're getting one person each time, we're collectively building
Oh, yeah.
that village. So
Yes.
I mean, you know, like how we started, then we got Sherelle, you know, it's just
Yeah.
adding to it, but I just
Yeah.
want to encourage you to keep going, because one person is worth it.
Oh, yeah.
So,
Thank you so much for that. I always tell people, the ladies that I work with, I said, we're just building our tribe brick by brick. You know, that's how I look at it. You're not gonna get everybody, but I don't want everybody. I want the people who are genuine people, who want what's good for you and you want what's good for me, because I'm a cheerleader. I mean people no harm. And when I support people, I support, you know, we always have these conversations, because we've been around people who were users and takers, and we've had to cut them off. You know, we had to realize who they were and cut them off, because when you're a kind person, people will try to pull on you and misuse you and abuse you. Then we have to understand as kind people, the takers will keep taking you. So we have to understand the takers, leave them where they are, and keep it moving. And that's what we do. But thank you for your encouragement. You know I'm gonna keep going. I won't stop.
That's right, you better not.
Yeah, we got some more authors in here. We got some people doing great things, and we're building our tribe brick by brick. And I want to tell y'all that Joy, I just met Joy in Dallas a couple of months there. I didn't know her. When I went to Dallas, all the people up there, I didn't know them. I was just meeting them. But she's a stand-up, Joy. Hey, Joy drove in today with her friends from Dallas to support me and be down here. She's a high school principal. Well, she's actually a principal of 3 schools, high school, 2 middle schools.
All 3 high schools.
All 3 high schools. So you know she's got a lot on her plate, okay? So I just thank her. We're gonna be doing a lot of great work together. And then Rod, are you in school too?
I'm assistant principal.
So Rod, our saxophonist, is assistant principal, band director, all that stuff. He plays many instruments. But I got him for saxophone, thank God for that. But there's 2 administrators right there. And thank y'all for y'all work too, because just like nurses, the teachers deserve a hand. And then standing up Sherelle. Look at Sherelle. I'm just giving people everything I know they got in here because I want to know who people are in the room. So Sherelle, a couple of people I told them about her. I don't even remember how I met Sherelle. Oh, I met Sherelle through LaTanya. She was still in Memphis at the time. She hadn't even moved, and I was telling her, hey, I need to connect with some bookstores, and she got busy doing what she do and connected me with Sherelle. So I've been knowing her over a year now. Sherelle is one of only 4 Black bookstore owners in the city of Houston.
Yes.
Brick and mortar, and I'm just flabbergasted because I'm like, Houston's the 4th largest city. How could there only be 4? She said there's only 4.
Wow.
Yeah, so she's one. So I had a book event at her store 2 weeks ago, and I always try to promote her, and we need to be supporting her because she's a Black bookstore owner.
The part she left out is she was one of my top sellers for books. It was, I think it was my top. You were in the top 5 best sellers for 2024. So
we're gonna support her. So yeah, we just building our tribe brick by brick. That's all. So yeah, that's all I got here. And then of course Jay. She is a podcast. She has her own podcast. JWE Experience. So all these business owners in here, we need to go through and be on her show so we can support her and elevate our business by getting more people.
Yes. It's all about inspirational journeys to greatness.
It is. Yep. And I told y'all about LaTanya, the photographer. And then last but not least is my daughter. Stand up. This is my baby daughter, Asia. She's a singer-songwriter, and she's responsible for helping me to organize these bags at the event. She goes to the event. She gives me insight on videotaping and content. She does my makeup because when she first started singing 10 years ago out of high school, I told her, listen, all these places you go and sing, they're not going to have a MAC store. You need to learn how to do makeup because you're in the middle of nowhere trying to figure out MAC. And she started studying makeup on YouTube, and she has perfected it just as much as a real makeup artist. She knows about amazing. So I want to give her props because last year she wrote a song that was Grammy nominated. So she also has a lot of other stuff going on. And my son, who was here earlier, he was just recently on Rhythm and Flow on Netflix. He had to leave for something, but I think he said they're going to soon have him performing at the Houston Rockets game because he's furthering his degree at TSU now, so he's been doing a lot of stuff with that lately.
Greatness all around. Greatness all around. Yeah.
And I just wanted to say, Mom, I've been to every single event, and I've been to every single event. I am so proud of you and how you continue to push forward even whenever there are challenges. It's very inspiring to me. You know, we've been on this whole self-growth journey together. And it's also extremely inspiring, every single person that is drawn to you. Like, you're like a magnet for greatness. When you speak on people who are in the room, it's always people who are doing great things, always people who are givers like you, and they're a reflection of who you are and the work that you've done. So I just want to say I'm proud of you. I know that all of this takes a lot. I know that you have a lot of things that you want to do, and we'll all be here to support you, but you're doing amazing.
Thank you. Yes, thank you.
And thank you, Cadori, so much for all of everything that you've given us, all that you poured into us, that you continue to pour into us. You know, I love you, and you poured into me like every time we talk, and even when we don't.
Yeah.
I'm so proud of you. So keep doing what you're doing, and thank you for having me as well.
Thank you so much.
I appreciate you. I do.
Thank you. Thank y'all for coming out. I appreciate you all. Our autograph books for whoever doesn't already have books. And Rod can play some more songs, and then we'll be done.
Have a great afternoon, everybody.
Yes. Oh, I'm sorry.
Ways to pay for it.
Zelle, Cash App, PayPal, whatever you got. Also, in your bags is something I came up with. In addition to Joy's paper that you have, you can read. It's called Powerful Positive Pocket Affirmations, and it's just a bunch of affirmations that I came up with. This barcode is to my website, but you can take these in your pocket every day and read them for inspiration, just different quotes and stuff that I came up with.
Yeah.
So it just kind of helps keep people motivated.
Yes.
Yeah. So
Thank
whoever
you.
needs a book autographed or whatever you want to buy, I'm here.
Thank you.